Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to committee meeting this morning. Appreciate everybody here in the boardroom. Usually don't have this many people, but it's good to see and the people in virtual join us today. We will have a public comment, brief public comment at the beginning of the meeting for anything that's on the agenda. And at the end of the meeting, we'll also have another public comment where you can address the board at that time too. I'll call the meeting to order this morning. We'll have prayer by Commissioner Cook, pledge allegiance by Commissioner Lutz, and then Madam President will do the roll call.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day that we can come before you. Just pray that everything we do today might be in the center of your will. Pray for the decisions we make today. Pray that they might be in the best interest of the citizens of Tuscola County. Thank you for everything you do for us. In your precious name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Commissioner Goodchild,
Here.
Commissioner Barba,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Lutz,
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a forum. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First thing is the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add on the agenda? I'm going to add one thing we're going to put under old business. It's the cameras for the building across the road there at the People State Bank building. And we'll put it on number 2 under old business. And other than that, that's all I have. Anybody else got anything you want to add to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll take a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Support, but I'll make the motion to adopt it as presented with the addition on the old business.
Oh, crap. Forgot that, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Then moved by Commissioner Lutz.
We need a second now.
I'll support that, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then moved by Commissioner Lutz to move to adopt the agenda with the addition. Seconded by Commissioner Cook. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's the agenda has been adopted. Action on previous meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the meeting minutes from the April 10th, 2025 regular meeting.
Support.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, support by Commissioner Cook. To move to adopt the meeting minutes from the April 10th, 2025 regular meeting. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been adopted. Brief public comment period for anybody that wants to address the board on anything that's on the agenda. The time to do that now, if you want to address the board for any of the agenda items. We can do that at this time. Agenda items only, please. See it or hear none. Madam Clerk, let the record show that brief public comment period was offered and we had no participants. We have no consent agenda this morning. So with that, we'll move right into new business. And the number one thing on the new business is the presentation of the resolution honoring Doug Young. Thank you. Resolution honoring Doug Young, 2025-05. Whereas Doug Young has retired from the Fairgrove Fire Department after providing 50 years of dedicated service to the Tuscola County residents. And whereas Doug joined the Fairgrove Fire Department in February 1975, and in October of 1976, he started the fire protection program at Akron Fairgrove Schools to present to preschool, kindergarten, and second graders. And whereas Doug went EMT for 15 years, a fire captain for 13 years, first assistant fire chief for 6 years, and the fire chief for 23 years. And whereas Doug was a fire brigade member 1978 through 2007, a fire brigade leader 1994 to 2000, health and safety instructor of Saginaw Steering Gear, Delphi next year, 1996 to 2007. Emergency service coordinator for next year and manager of next year fire crib 2007, 2015. And whereas Doug was the vice president of Tuscola County Fire Chiefs Association from 2008 to 2011, and the president of the Tuscola County Fire Chiefs Association 2012 to 2025. And whereas Doug was awarded Firefighter of the Year in 1986, was awarded the Volunteer of the Year for Vassar Area Ambulance Services in 1992. And whereas Doug was also a seasonal employee at Mosquito Abatement in 2015 for Tuscola County and bailiff for Tuscola County Courts from October 2015 to December 2022. And whereas Doug's commitment is not just his family, but his entire community, a personal character trial that sets him apart from others. And therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of the residents of Tuscola County Board of Commissioners, I'd like to take this opportunity to commend Doug Young for his tremendous contributions during his many years of valuable service to Tuscola County and wishes Doug many enjoyable years of retirement.
The guys on the department always say during our appreciation dinners, don't put a mic or let Doug speak because I get on a soapbox and it doesn't stop for a while. But I will say I humbly accept this, and it's been a great career. Thank you.
Over here, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Chief.
Congratulations to Doug Young for all the years of service. Move on to number 2 under new business. Michigan Indigent Defense Council,
I'm sorry,
MIDC.
Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh.
We have a motion. Sorry to interrupt
That's
you.
about 4 or 5 years I should get that down.
You're just trying to be efficient.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve and place on file the retirement resolution 2025-05 presented to Doug Young, Fair Grove Fire Chief. A roll call vote.
I'll support that.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook to move to approve and place on file the retirement resolution 2025-05 presented to Doug Young, Third Grove Fire Chief. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Lutz,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodchild,
Yes.
Commissioner Barbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that correction there. Madam Clerk. Move on to number 2. Michigan Indigent Defense Council, MIDC, proposed grant application.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to come before the board,
I'm sure it is.
especially when we're asking for money. Actually, because we're on a fiscal year with the assigned council office, they actually want us planning a budget for fiscal year 2026. Going forward, what we're really requesting is just permission to pursue that funding through the state of Michigan. And it's just the start of the process. Now we have Nick here, my right-hand man, the future of our office. Let me tell you, he's a devoted public servant and it's been doing a fantastic job expanding our services and our dedication to helping new courts such as the treatment courts, mental health court, as well as sobriety court, and now there's a drug court. We're going to have Nick just speak to the board, kind of give you a brief outline of the process, and then I can answer any questions. Okay, so I turn this over to Nick Collins. Thank you.
We're just going to try to move towards a public defender system in the future. We want to be cost neutral as we do that. We want to ultimately save funds for the county and the state over a longer period by reducing 1099 costs and expenditure, because those are mandated to increase each year by the state. So the public defender model is where we're thinking cost control is. But we're just asking permission right now to start asking the state for the funds that the state gives us. And we'll present a full, thorough model once it's been vetted by the state for approval. Thank you.
Any questions so far? I got one. So what you're doing now, you're applying for the grant money. Are you heading towards the public defenders?
Not this year. That will not
This
be
year.
done in fiscal year 2026. We're trying to lay the infrastructure for that, and then maybe 2027, definitely 2028 will be the times when it takes a while to recruit the correct staff to execute on that plan. And so that takes time to do.
John.
Yeah.
Who funds that once you become a public defender?
It's the same exact funding
Same funding.
process as this, only it's less funds that ultimately need to be requested to do the work.
Less fun.
And that is the goal of the public defender's office, is to control the costs, know how many cases a public defender can take, and then reduce the 1099 per case expenditure.
Well, Nick, why isn't that done today?
The staff required to do that isn't here. It needs to be recruited. The infrastructure needs to be built to do it. The people aren't here to execute on that today. I've got two hands.
So what you're saying is the state can't do it. So a public defender office can supersede the state in terms of cost containment.
Well, supersede the present model that we are delivering services under. The state's not really involved in it. The present model doesn't have a cost containment. It's not built in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's just going to be more cases, more hours, and then they say we have to pay a higher rate, and then that just keeps ballooning out, whereas the public defender's office enables cost control.
Chairman, I'm certainly not against that, but you see the fallacy of this whole discussion in
Yes.
terms of it's such a great deal when they came to us, going to save us all this money. They're going to pay for it. Oh, no, that sounds great. And yet, thankfully, you come in and you can say, hey, on a public defender's office, we can even save more money, which means the state will save more money. The county is cost neutral on this, correct?
The county is cost neutral on everything that we do. They pay the same amount. Yes.
And the real issue here, since we had the MIDC, public defenders, we've lost attorneys in town too, who had joined up. And yet the problem that we have is that the ability to keep pace with the salaries that are being paid by the state to the public defenders or to yourself versus the county. Is that gap you envision going to widen?
Well, the gap right now is none of the attorneys who are working and practicing would have any interest in joining a public defender's office because of the cut that would entail to their income. It's much more profitable for them to bill the MIDC at a 1099 rate and make money there. The public defender employee salary would likely be in line with the prosecutor's employee salary.
So the number of attorneys you have now is about how many
There are 10 to a dozen at any time.
at any
attorneys on
time?
hand.
And the number in your office, if you restructure this, would be how many?
In 2030, it would be 4 to 5, depending on if juvenile work has been assigned to the MIDC. And then there would still need to be a panel of probably 2 to 4 conflict attorneys, as one office, sometimes 3 people commit a crime. And so there needs to be, one office can't handle all of that.
I applaud you for going forward with this in many ways, because obviously we all have issues with the state in many regards. I mean, if the state, if it's a mandate from the state, even if it's funded by the state, there's always, for the peoples of Michigan, the people of Michigan, they're the ones who bearing the cost of this versus what could be done at a county level or county levels that could save money. But
Understood. That's why I want to be a decent steward of the state funds, because it is in the end all of our funds that we are taking care of there. I don't just want to see it go, even if they would give the unlimited money to do that. It's not,
Well,
I think, the right way
appreciate
to do it.
No further questions. So
Thank you, Chairman.
The other so we got a motion to approve you applying for the grant NIDC, just like we do all the time.
Yes, yes, Chairman.
Get it ready for next year, right?
That's what we're asking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple of things to clarify. We currently have a model that involves what we call roster attorneys. Genesee County is a classic example of, they had a roster system. All the private attorneys were grumbling that they're going to be cut out, they're going to lose money. Well, guess what? They have an office with 4 staff attorneys, a retired judge is the administrator, and they kept the roster. So the lawyers basically were able to put their talents on the more serious thing. Unfortunately, Genesee and Tuscola are not the same. We don't have the drug crime. We don't have the number of murder cases that have to get back. So the idea is not to cut out our local attorneys. They are the backbone of the system, but also we will be more effective in the long run if we have some type of a hybrid model that's going to involve, a relatively small office. And we'll be more than happy to share what those long-term costs are going to be, because I know as a commissioner, you have to think, well, what happens if they pull away the funding in the next go around with the new administration and Lansing? So my understanding is this money has been earmarked going back 30 years. And basically, the commission that oversaw how we handled indigent defense said that Michigan has been just irresponsible and inappropriate in funding lawyers who can advocate for defendants who are indigent. And the other thing I wanted to just add is a classic example of the roster attorney working out. Had a case that involved a search and seizure question. Judge Bitzer made a ruling. That was affirmed by Judge Gearhart. It went to the Court of Appeals, where it was affirmed. The Attorney General applied to the Michigan Supreme Court. It was remanded back for some testimony. And then it went after the Supreme Court affirmed the ruling in favor of the defendant as brought by the defense attorney, went to the the U.S. Supreme Court. That case was denied cert for the appealing party, which is the Attorney General's office and the prosecutor's office. So actually, Tuscola County is going to make the news as that being a victory for indigent defendants. And when you look at the facts, I'll be happy to share them if you ever want to see it. It's called People versus Lisinski, and it'll probably be published as an opinion. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do.
ahead.
So if you apply for the grant, how much is the grant worth? If you get it?
I think right now it read the numbers around 2.2. It was 2.4 last year. It might be up to, like, it will be between 2 and 2.5 by the time the state's done auditing around it.
And here's the thing, if the state looks at it, changes things, says you can't have this kind of money for this thing, they move the numbers around. It has to be affirmed by this commission, okay? And signed by Chairman Vaughn before it even gets to Lansing for a final approval. So this is just the start of the process. And it's kind of like a moving target in terms of what we supplied might be changed here and there. Okay,
Okay. Any other questions?
very good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Chairman, I do not see a proposed motion presented for you.
Oh, okay. What's the? Oh, okay, they just got the, oh.
Chairman, while they're drafting motion, I have a question.
Jeff?
What was the I was just reading the case. What was the question that went before? I see it was looked like a murder. Is this the particular one?
Oh, this is actually the drug case.
Oh, this is a wrong case. How do you spell that last name?
It was a stop. Sorry, it was a stop, like an illegal traffic stop.
Okay,
allegedly.
wrong case.
And what the prosecutor put their argument forth on is that this was just a reasonable mistake made by the officer as far as what was going on. So the analysis is kind of unique because it gives direction to our law enforcement officers out there, you know, what they really need to do to establish probable cause for a search. And it reiterated some good law that's always been on the books. That's all.
So how do you spell the last name?
Lusinski,
Yeah, you know that? offhand?
Yeah, I've got it.
Lucyn.
Oh, you see why.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
David Allen.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve per the request of Jeff Stewart, managed assigned council administrator to apply for the 2026 annual grant for the Indigent Defense Council. Final paperwork to be brought to the board for final approval and signature once approved by the state.
Support.
The move by Commissioner Cook, support by Commissioner Lutz. To move to approve per the request of Jeff Stewart. Managed assigned council administrator to apply for the 2026 annual grant for the Indian Defense Council. Final paperwork to be brought to the board for final approval and the signature once approved by the state. That is the motion. It has to be approved by those have to be signed before it goes to the state.
Yes, formally, it will have to be approved by the board of commissioners after a thorough review of the actual application and the cost analysis. So we'll be back.
I think at this point, the motion is just granting them the authority to put the application in.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Motion,
will take that, please.
motion is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Move on to number 3. Michigan State University Extension, MSU annual report.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
You should all have a copy of the annual report in your packets. If not, I do have a nice, official color copy if you would like that. Pass these around. All right, well, thanks for the opportunity to come and share some highlights of our impacts in Tuscola County in 2024. I just wanted to start at the bottom of the page here and talk about some of these data points here. So the first 2 bullet points kind of can be a little confusing. So I like to really distinguish between the 2. So there were 1,397 Tuscola County residents that attended 307 programs last year, which includes those held here in Tuscola County, as well as anywhere around the state and online. There were also 2,059 participants that attended 49 programs physically held here in Tuscola County. So those could include residents or those from out of the county as well. And when I look at these 2 data points in relation to the other 4 counties that I serve, this is very interesting because typically we see it flip-flopped, that there are a lot more residents attending more programs out of the county or online. But the bigger number that we see participants attending programs here in the county indicates that there are people that don't live here that are coming here for those programs. So just an interesting data point there. So all of our programs are made possible through our various partnerships with community organizations, schools, libraries, all kinds of different entities. And last year we had 36 partnerships reported. There were 249 volunteers that served Tuscola County, and most of these would have been in our 4-H program. There were 437 youth enrolled in 4-H last year. And another way that we reach community members is through educational handouts, e-newsletters, and other materials that are distributed with educational information. And last year, there were 118,278 contacts made through those methods last year in Tuscola County alone. So Wendy Friend is relatively new. She's coming up on her 1-year anniversary pretty soon. She serves Tuscola County and covers community nutrition education. So last year, they reached, and I say they because there was a previous community nutrition instructor that's here today, actually, Nola Auernhammer, who reached folks last year through community nutrition education as well. So last year, there were 390 adults and youth reached in Tuscola County. One of those programs included Senior Project Fresh, which is a program that not only educates, but also distributes coupons to older adults in the county who are low income. So last year, a total of $6,225 was received by low income seniors to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. And I just want to point out, Wendy has been partnering a lot with the Tuscola County Transition Center. They are working on a really exciting new program with the Michigan Center for Rural Health. So a lot of the teenagers who have intellectual disabilities that went through her program will now become kind of the experts in a program with their parents. So they will be kind of leading the lesson and teaching those cooking skills that they learn to their parents and really engaging their whole family. So more to come on that. Hopefully next year I'll be able to bring back some success stories with that. Food preservation and ServSafe education continue to be in high demand here. Lori Messing is based out of the Huron County office, but she serves 4 of the 5 counties in the Thumb. So last year she had 41 participants in 5 ServSafe classes, which at the end of that comes with a certification, if they pass the test, of course, that all managers and food service workers need to obtain to be able to serve food to the public. She also had 40 participants in various food preservation classes, and you can see the topics of those. She has a lot of success partnering with the libraries in the county with those. So I won't go into great detail here, but you can see some of the other overall health programs that we offer. Tai Chi for arthritis and falls prevention continues to be a really high demand program with older adults. Even a lot of those are taught online and they log in that way. The 4-H program reaches a lot of youth, as always, whether it be through the traditional chartered clubs, which last year there were 20, but also through school enrichment and other educational programs. So these are really great opportunity to expose kids and introduce them to 4-H who might not have had any experience with it otherwise. And as I shared earlier, there were 437 youth enrolled in the 4-H program. So in addition to that, there were 2,518 participants reached through that school enrichment and other programming in various formats. It was a big year for the emergency response to accidents involving livestock, or E-Rail, is what we call it, in the area last year. There was a new E-Rail trailer that was placed just next door in Lapeer County. So that is now one of 8 that are placed around the state. It's fully stocked with really anything you could ever want or need for any accident involving livestock. So that's a great resource. Hopefully we never need it, but it is there if we do need it. We also had an E-rail training for first responders at the Imlay City Fairgrounds, which had 52 participants. Jared Jaborik also continued his feedlot education series he does every year. And that included over 100 participants across 4 presentations held at Biagio's over in Kingston. The field crops educators hosted several educational workshops in the area. And most of the workshops and updates that they hold, growers are able to obtain RUP credits, which are continuing education to apply restricted use pesticides. There were 9 soybean plots on farms in the area. I think most, if not all of those, were just next door in Sanilac County. But those provide a lot of non-biased research on different, production methods and products that are published and used by growers across the state. The virtual breakfast series reached a lot of people again this last year. That is a weekly webinar during the growing season. It just started back up a couple of weeks ago, I believe, that focuses on a different timely topic every week. So last year, there were 5,465 participants who joined live, and many, many more who watched the recordings or listened to them via podcasts as well. And you can see those statistics there. There were 245 Tuscola County residents who joined those sessions live last year. I didn't put it on here again, but I'm sure you'll get at least another email or 2 from me. A couple of months ago, I came and invited everybody to the Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference that will be held in Lapeer at the end of next month. So if you haven't registered already, please do. I think we have a really exciting lineup. There's some folks from here in Tuscola County that will be presenting as well. And last on here, you could just see some of the overall impacts across the state. At the bottom here as well, there's a QR code to scan if you need some light reading. There's our strategic direction report there. Last year and actually some of the year prior, we underwent a pretty extensive strategic planning process. Got a lot of really great data and input from stakeholders and partners across the whole state. So that's all combined. So you can read a synopsis of that as well as our plan to implement some of those changes. So with that, I will answer any questions.
Any questions? It's quite it's good.
I have a question. On the senior project Fresh, they having the farmers participate. I know it's when they first got started that some of them, they wasn't registered or whatever. Has that changed?
That's actually, there's a huge change with that this next year. So we don't have any formal role in that. The state has decided to move all of that virtually. So seniors will need to go in and register by themselves online and watch some videos. And same thing with the farmers or producers. They have to go in and register themselves to be able to accept those coupons. So it's all digital now.
So do you know if we have any farmers here in Tuscola County that are taking them?
I don't know at this time. There's still time to register, I believe, though.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions for?
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your report.
Very good. Chairman, I move to approve and place on file the Michigan State University Extension MSU 2024 annual report as presented.
Support. So moved by Commissioner Cook, support by Commissioner Bardwell. Move to approve and place on file the Michigan State University Extension MSU 2024 annual report as presented. That is the motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's on final. Move on to number 4. May is Motorcycle Awareness Month. Jeremy Ballred, A-Base of Michigan.
Well, good morning, Tuscola Board.
How you
Again,
doing
there's
this
some,
morning?
good. I see some returning faces and I see some new faces. Again, I'm Jeremy Iceman Bouvret, Legislative Officer in A-Bate of Michigan with some of my colleagues here. Bob Betson, Area Coordinator for Region 7, Tamara Feldhaus, Legislative Assistant. I have a spiel here that I would do for the new commissioners. Like I said, most of you guys have heard me, have been here probably 5 or 6 times now already, and like to thank you again for your continuing support. But again, belong to A-Bate of Michigan, which is American Bikers Aiming Towards Education. Our region covers Huron, Tuscola, and Sanilac counties. We are motorcyclists from all walks of life, with goals are to ensure safety, freedom on our public roads, promote motorcycling in general, and promote motorcycle awareness to the general. One of the ways that we aim to do this is by having gentlemen like yourselves to proclaim May as Motorcycle Awareness Month through the proclamation that we are asking, and that is in front of you. We're asking Tuscola County to make May Motorcycle Awareness Month, and it is our hope that in obtaining this proclamation declares that by the city, the township, villages, and the counties, that motorcyclists will become more aware of alternate forms of transportation, which is pretty much everybody's concern in this day and age. This awareness will help bring visibility and safety not only to motorcyclists, but to pedestrians, bicycle riders, and joggers, which will increase as we know the weather is starting to become nicer. Enclosed again is the proclamation that you have in front of you, and thus adopting this proclamation, which we are asking to help avoid injuries and/or death to our fellow riders on the road. Again, on behalf of myself, Region 7, A-Bate of Michigan, and my colleagues here, we appreciate your ongoing support and hoping to make May 2025 Motorcycle Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chairman, you do have a resolution currently on file. It's included in your packet. It's resolution 2022-09, in which you did support May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Tuscola County. What we have did in the past is just continue that support without a motion, but just to verbally state that you still support that mission.
Okay.
I'll support that.
So we really don't need to.
You don't need to re-adopt it because you do have one on file. So we just kind of do a reaffirmation
Just
with that.
maybe let the minutes show that the board does support May as,
Mhm.
as
Yep.
motorcycle awareness. Thank you guys for that.
And if all commissioners and stuff, if you're willing to, after the meeting, we'll do a group photograph for media purposes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Move on to number 5, Parks and Recreation Commission signed grant request.
Good morning, Commissioners. Glad to be here today. The Parks and Recreation is, we met this month, and we are looking for cost-effective ways to improve our recreation facilities. So we are looking at some grants, and this is a possible grant that we are looking at. We're asking your permission to go and apply for the grant. Nancy Berrios, I appreciate the work she has done at looking into this. So with further ado, she wants to further explain what the grant is about.
The POET grant is a $4,000 grant. The POET grant is a $4,000 grant which is offered in the communities where the Poet refinery plants are located within a 50-mile district. I wanted to apply for this grant for signage. Mark Putnam was here just a short time ago to present to you about a sign to be placed at Vanderbilt Park. It's the same signage. I'd like to show you what we're putting up at Kelly Road. These are 2/3 the size. It's a 3x4 panel. There are 3 panels. This is the primary one that will go on the sign that we're proposing for the parcel site. And this one has the access trails for water access. And this goes from M53 on up to M46. As you notice on the bottom here, there is another map, and that is where Cass River New Water Trail is located. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the area from Saginaw to M46 was recently designated as a state water trail, along with 11 other state water trails in the state of Michigan. The formal notification has not come out. We're waiting for the state to make that declaration. But Commissioner Chairman Bob Zellinger of Frankenmuth was notified that we have been designated as a water trail. Part of getting that access is the Cass River Greenway working with communities throughout that region in order to coordinate all of the access sites. And what we're doing now is we're placing signs from M53 on through. We talked to Chippewa Landing, Terrell Parks, Indian Fields Township, and the parcels, and putting signage there in the hopes of extending that water trail from M46 through M53. The grant is for $4,000. If you looked at the packet that I had sent to you, the projected, which is projected high, the cost for the cement and concrete is the highest cost. We originally, when we did the sign at Kelly Road, we're going to do it ourselves. But since we're a little older and don't have all the physical strength, we had a contractor do that. The pad was poured yesterday. Our cost on that was $1,600 to have a commercial contractor pour that. Can be done less expensively. I didn't want to commit to having our people from the county do the cement work. That's something that we could look into, or we could have volunteers do the cement work to put in the sign. The actual sign costs $3,750. The design work is estimated at $650. It's going to be less because we already have one panel that's already completed. The other 2 panels will include information, site-specific history of that parcel, maybe some history of Native American usage in the area. The parcels, we found out at our meeting, does not have a budget for any projects. The Parks and Rec budget, I understand, is strictly for Vanderbilt Park. So if we have the permission of council to pursue this grant, and it's for $4,000, I will be asking for the entire $4,000. Whatever we don't have covered, we will have to get from the county. But I hope you support this project because it not only promotes recreation and access to the people of this area, but it also links with other communities. And when you apply for grants, especially if you're going to look for applying for DNR grants in the future, they always look at cooperative efforts. What are you doing that link with other organizations or groups? Cass River Greenway, which I am a member, Mike attends the meetings as well, is composed of a variety of different groups. And I think that's listed in your packet: Tuscola County Road Commission, Tuscola County Conservation District, Saginaw, SISMA, WIN. There are a number of organizations that are National Conservancy that are all part of that larger group. Like I say, it's a cooperative effort to get the waterways so people can use them and promote them. So what we're doing is asking for your permission to apply for a $4,000 grant, understanding that $4,000 will not completely cover the project. We may have between $1,000 and $2,600 that we might have to come up with costs. And applying for the grant does not guarantee you get the grant. You apply for the grant and they make decisions on who they're going to cover. And I don't have a lot of these, but if you'll share, just so that you have some information on Cass River Greenway. Bob is in Arizona, so I wasn't able to get additional flyers. Yeah, gives you some information on the water trail. And if you had an opportunity to look and go online, cassriverwatertrail.org, you can see all of the work that's been done. And that's primarily Cass River Greenway organizing all of the efforts of the communities along the river. So we're asking your permission to apply for $4,000 grant from what?
You know, it's refreshing to see our Rex board working on stuff like this. I mean, we've had Rex board for many long time, and Ready's never brought nothing to us except for Vanderbilt Park, of course, you know, now and then. We do have a fund balance in Vanderbilt Park, but it's for Vanderbilt Park because we've never had nothing else to work except for Vanderbilt Park. But it's nice to see that the meetings are constructive when we go there. You know, always good ideas. This is just the beginning, you know, so I support, you know, moving forward with signage and stuff like that. Something we need to discuss is about any funds available for other projects, like out to other places. If we want to dip into Vanderbilt Park, set up structurally differently, or however we want to do it. But something I think we need to look at
Right.
going forward, because we
Yes.
do have now other stuff that we can proceed, and it is for the you know, and I still remember the one thing that Nancy told me when she became the head of the Parks and Rec, she told me we were talking about this, and we were talking about funding and stuff, and Nancy told me point blank, said, you know what? It doesn't matter if you make money or not. You're the county, you're obligated to have recreation for the people, you know, and that's part of our obligation. So that's my little spiel, but it is fresh, you know, bring stuff to us, different ideas. I think it's comes to get to. I'll turn it over to the board.
Chairman, I have a statement to make to the board. I applaud everything that you've said and you've done, and certainly Nancy and Michael, you've been very instrumental in bringing this forward. I do have some financial concerns, though. I'm not sure what's in the Vanderbilt Park budget or what kind of funds are in it. I'd like to know that, especially if any of those funds could be segued to or appropriated in this manner. The real issue here is that my concern is, and perhaps Commissioner Cook would join me on this, is that we're going into May, first quarter, and we haven't had any financials provided to the board for review. Our previous controller had indicated, as I've said many times, and we all know, and she said, that we'll be in the red for the next 3 years. I'm a little concerned, even though it's a small amount, that the fund balance that we have that we can pull from, other than what's perhaps in the Vanderbilt, is very limited. There is no cash available. It's only from the old ARPA funds or GSP funds today. Unless there's some savings that are pulled out of other line items that are over budgeted. So my concern, Mr. Cook, Commissioner Cook, is that number one, I'd like to know what's the probability of moving funds out of the Vanderbilt Park, if there's whatever's available there and what that would take. And I think you suggested that, Chairman, but also where are we at financially? We have no clue at this point. And from a finance perspective, we need to know very soon a working copy of where we stand first quarter, so we can track to see if our previous control administrator projections are correct. But it's such a large amount that she predicted it would take a huge amount. There's really not a lot of variance there. So that's what I wanted to bring up, Chairman, to the board. I just want to be aware
So-
once again.
So on the question that you talk about the finances, we looked at I asked at our last meeting, we looked at our financials for the Parks and Recreation budget as it is written in your financial records there. So at our last meeting, we had $31,000 currently in the fund balance. We had a budget so that we presented to the board that was approved that, and we asked for $12,000 specifically in that budget for work on Vanderbilt Park. But we didn't have a fund balance. That is something that we looked at when we presented our budget. And we looked at those financial records. So at this current time, we're at 31,000. Of course, there's things, more money budgeted, money budgeted to go out. But we did review that record. If we send it to you where we are right now on that, we did have a good winter this year for ice fishing. So that is better than it was in previous years. They got about $4,000 from that this year. So if there's questions about.
To answer Commissioner Bardwell's question, there is money in their fund balance to do this project. That's where we as a board said, hey, we should take it.
Right. That's,
We went through the finances last time, and there's some stuff that we talked about, which I was gonna bring up earlier at the end when I talked about it, but there are certain maintenance that we talked about that needs to be done at Vanderbilt Park. We'd like to paint the bathrooms, put up the fence post that has to be replaced, and put up a little signage area, like a glass case sign with information that would be nice if people got there. And just know, because they don't cost a lot, but there is money in the fund balances to do them things. And as much as we don't want to admit as a board, that is a caveat, and it needs to have maintenance done every year. And that's painting the bathrooms and certain things that you have to get done, or before you know it, they're just, they're just gone. But I believe there is, and usually something like this here, and Erica will get this too, like usually when something like this is presented, then we can have it figured, come in with the finances for the Parks and Rec. That way we have everything right in front of us. But I know this, but I believe there is money in there going over the finances that the fund balance. And Erica may know you better than I do.
Do you want me to go run that now? I mean, if you want to pause, I can, or move them to another item while I run those numbers for you.
Chairman, I prefer not to pause, to continue the meeting. My only concern was, and perhaps you alleviated that, of course, this board, unless it's just me, has not seen anything. So we don't know what's in it. So yes, you need to run that report, and perhaps for the next committee of the whole finance, we can look at it, unless this is time sensitive. This is time sensitive. We'll have to put it on the end. That would be my suggestion. But if there's no restrictions on the park funds, other than what the board would, and the funds are there, other than what the board would decide, and maintenance, certainly, we've addressed that over the years.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure, nor I was seeking the board's assurance that the funds were there. Now, if the funds are there, that's fine, and they can be appropriated. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they're stipulated for you. And,
And at this point, we're just asking them to apply for that grant. So.
Right.
so the application, would that also, if you apply for it, does that commit you, if it's awarded to you? It would commit you. Sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't, you shouldn't apply for another grant in the future for that respect. So, yes, so I think, Chairman, you said on the Parks and Rec Board, you know more about it than any one of us. I'm just raising some financial.
No, and
questions.
right, that's the one question need to be raised. But going over their financials and their fund balance and stuff, the money is used. Do you want to use all your fund balance? Absolutely not, because next year is a different year. You know, there's been so many years that we've put money into that park every year and there's been no fund balance. I think we're past that stage now. Cause the last 2 or 3 years have been showing a pretty good fund balance there. You know, I think we're past that stage where now we can start looking at some other projects and stuff and talking about how you want to take that fund balance. If you want to take 75% of that fund balance and leave it for Vanderbilt Park, take 25% that can be used for signs on it. Just different things to talk about. You know, because that's the only thing we have coming in right now is Vanderbilt Park that we could draw fund balance from.
I would just like to add, as going forward, I know we just applied for, or put through our 5-year plan for approval from the state, and pursuing a Michigan DNR grant is something that we could consider in the future. That also requires some amount of money to be set aside as your contributing amount of money. And I would just ask that the commissioners evaluate and look at a potential budget for the parcels. We need to do at some point in time, and hopefully very soon, a site plan, which also requires, or an engineering study, whichever you want to call it, on how you want to proceed with a formal project on that property. And those can run anywhere from $4,000 to $6,500 from what I originally got rough estimates on. So we have to have that in order to apply for that MDNR grant. They need specifications and then estimates and bids on all of that. So down the road, when we look to making an expansion or actually doing something, it's been 5 years and there's been nothing done on that property whatsoever, except for the pump house being taken down and the cement pad poured there. And that looks really neat. So we're anxious to, you know, to move forward and do some things there, but it requires having some budget money set aside too.
Chairman, if you're going to consider the motion in front of you, I would probably recommend then adding a sentence before the authorize all necessary signatures regarding the $2,700 would be attributed to the Parks and Recreation, to either take it out of the Vanderbilt Park line item or to take it out of their fund balance.
Right, that's what I was thinking too.
To
Put that at the end.
delineate where that's gonna come from so that it's clear later on.
Right, that's what I was thinking too. And, but where, you know, where we're taking the money from.
And I apologize, I didn't see this motion before today to be able to put any suggestions in, so.
Normally, we would have had a financial overview of Vanderbilt Park that would show the funds available. That made it much more simpler for a discussion.
Right, right.
What I would also include, would you recommend including the line item that it's coming from, or are you just gonna leave it open to either or?
I think if we can provide that line item, I think that would be much clearer. We've been trying to do that in our motions, is to include those line items to make the paper trail there for the accounting part of it. But I don't know what that line item is.
Right.
Chairman, would it be appropriate that we can move this to the end of the agenda
Yes.
and get the line item number and the amount available?
Yep.
Pleasure of the board. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's right. Like I said, you know, but we'll get all that straight. The Parks and Rec.
Well, do you want Parks and Rec or do you want the line item for the projects of Vanderbilt Park and to subtract it from the planned
So we had
funds? I don't know what-
I'm sorry, not trying to interrupt.
No, I didn't know what you were
Yeah,
thinking, Michael,
So we have a page that they showed us for the financial that has all the income budgeted and expenses. So what that was about, I mean, it's one page. The one line item that we asked for this year that we didn't have before was an additional $12,000 to make improvements on Vanderbilt Park. That's over and beyond the repair, taking down the trees, the expenses for the electricity. It's beyond that. So if that would be the easiest place that it would be taken, that. Otherwise, if you want, yeah, you can go ahead and print out the whole page and look at that. But we did have a fund balance of 31,000 at this current time, which we had about $7,000 additional revenue from last year. So looking at the numbers that I've looked at, it doesn't look like it'd be a big problem to fit that in there. But if you want to get those numbers and print those off.
Yeah, no,
Director Miller was very resourceful at the moment. So thank you.
at the moment.
At the moment.
Wow.
But he does have the last special fund revenue budget in front of us. There is the Vanderbilt Park renovations. We do have a line item of 208-000-970-100. And there currently is a $12,000 budget, and I'm showing no expenses to date. This would be through.
That is the
April.
renovate, yeah, that's the renovation line item, and that's where they put the $12,000 that the committee has already requested. So I would suggest that you take the other $2,700, whatever, and just add it to that line item and take it out of it.
From the fund balance.
Yeah.
So in this
And put it in the
motion,
renovation.
we
It's
would
already
need,
budgeted there.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
so we would need to craft into this motion, approval to transfer 2,700 from the fund balance
To this
to
line.
that line item, and then that would be available
For the grant.
Yes,
to cover anything not covered by the grant.
correct.
So Chairman Bond, if that money is set aside just for Vanderbilt Park, can we take the money out of that for this?
I don't think that there's ever been a motion that saying that that's where that money stays. I think
Okay.
it's just always been there because Vanderbilt Park is the only entity we had, you know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So I don't think it was specifically
okay.
done by the board to say that's strictly Vanderbilt Park money. It's just that's.
Okay.
Unless I'm wrong, unless you know something.
Well, I would think that in this case, going forward, at some point, that Vanderbilt Park, that line item, I'm not, if it's legal or not, what's behind that, but that'd be changed to include Tuscola County Parks, some more general
Right.
versus
Yeah.
specific. It'd be much easier to in the future.
Or, I mean, the other thing that you could potentially do, and this is a little outside of my knowledge, but if you could create that a separate line item, so instead of the 100, which is Vanderbilt Park, if you could end it in 101 and create a subsection to it, and that would be for the parcels. Because then you can keep the 12,000 separate for Vanderbilt Park and not muddy that water, and then add a check digit at the end, which would then subsection into the parcels, and then put that $2,700 into its own dedicated line item.
Well, certainly it would be a.
That would be less money, but I'm not the accountant here, I'm just the. That would be my suggestion though.
I would have to look at the Michigan Chart of Accounts to see what's available for, so that I can appropriately number it. So yes, I can do that, but I need a minute to research it. And Mr. Chair, this isn't time sensitive, could we put this back on the committee of the whole, so we're not trying to rush through it?
And when is your deadline for your grant application? So the next committee of the whole is May 12th.
I would suggest that we resolve it today in terms of just the line item that you had mentioned.
I would as
So
well,
that they'll
because then that gives Nancy more time to properly write the grant. When you're trying to rush through a grant, your chances of being awarded it are thinner than if you have enough time to prepare that properly.
I agree. You ain't rushing through it.
So we can just move this item to later in the meeting, and that would allow Erica some time, at the pleasure of the board. Which I believe she's already on it. so.
Yep, she's on it.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
we'll come back to this.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have a question. So whatever Erica's getting, is she getting the financials, or is she looking up to the state to see what line, as she had mentioned, what line item, or can we just rate there's line item there that you had mentioned.
I believe my understanding was she was going to look to see if we could, yeah, what numbering system would be available so that we could dedicate a line
For a
item to
separate
the
item.
parcels
Okay,
and keep it separate out of Vanderbilt Park. But
okay. And if that's not possible?
then I guess we'll have something else to talk about.
Perhaps we've already talked about it.
Perhaps.
No further questions.
Any more discussion on this? Okay, we'll come back to it. We'll get it figured out. Go back to it. Moving on to number 6, Eagle Grant Amendment, Mike Miller, Building and Grounds.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Mike.
Eagle has put a new stipulation out for any grant that involves equipment that is over $10,000. They want a 5-year lien placed on it. Seeing as our trailer grant is for $10,500, that puts us over that mark. So they have sent us an amendment to put a 5-year lien on the trailer once we get it. That's the only thing that's changing.
Chairman, let me ask my question.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we not pay the 10,500?
Yeah, everything will be fully paid for.
So what is the lien?
Well, from my understanding is, this is the state's way of making sure that when they give money out, 'cause apparently the example I was given is that they give these grants out, entities buy equipment, and then a year later they turn around and sell the equipment.
All right.
So this is, they want to make sure that entities are actually going to use the equipment, and if it gets sold, that the
They're gonna pay it
state
back.
gets their fingers on that money.
And they check the asset of every county, every,
Well, that I don't know, but this is their way of, we're going to keep an eye on you, so.
thank you for that.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the Eagle Grant Amendment as presented and authorized all necessary signatures.
I'll support them.
So moved by Commissioner Lutz, supported by Commissioner Cook, to move to accept the Eagle Grant Amendment as presented and authorize all necessary signatures. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion is passed. Move on to number 7. Opening of bids for Sheriff Office dumpster pad.
Yes, I have quite a few bids to open, so I will do it as briefly as I possibly can. You do have motions on there. And I talked with Angie yesterday, it was my intention just to have you to award the lowest bidder, and then I would review them, and if there was any changes, I'd come back to you on May 12th. I'd like to change that and just say that both these bids, I will just come back to you on May 12th with a recommendation. I'd like to have time just to go over these and make sure that everything is good instead of just awarding it and then something's wrong and have to come back and change it. So we can just forget the motions for today. I'll just give you the numbers and I'll come back on May 12th and give you my recommendation.
Okay.
So, the first bid I have, is from Agnew Construction from Saginaw.
And Mike, you're doing the sheriff's office dumpster first, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Their bid for that project is $29,468. The second one is not labeled on the outside of who it was from. It's from Dale Rick Masonry here in Caro. His total is $38,700. Third bid I have is from AJ Remus and Son from Bay City. His bid or their bid is $30,150. The next bid I have is from Powell's from Montrose, Michigan. Their bid is $45,740. And the next bid I have is not labeled on the outside. This is from Boss Man Construction from Flushing. Their bid is $30,274.25. The next one is not sure exactly. KMI Road Maintenance from North Branch. I'm assuming there's a price here somewhere. Ah, here we go. 29,500. The next bid, which is the last bid for the dumpster pad, is not labeled on the envelope. It is from Zuma Contracting, ZUMA, and they are also here in Carroll. Looks like their total price is $52,372.50.
Chairman, can I ask a question? Mike, how big is that pad?
Approximately 22 feet by 90 feet long, and then there is the approach off the street going towards the dumpster pad. It's more than just the dumpster pad. I call it a dumpster pad just to break it up, but it's the dumpster pad itself, which is just asphalt right now. But the entire concrete pad in front of the mechanic's garage is cracked or broken because of the garbage truck backing over it. So we're going to replace all of the concrete plus some of the asphalt and just turn the whole thing into a concrete pad. And then the approach is damaged from the garbage
Are
truck.
they going 6 inches thick?
It's going to be 6 inches thick on the pad and 8 inches thick on the approach.
Yeah, to the road, right?
Yeah.
Any more questions for Mike on this? You want to get a chance to look over all these, make sure that apples and apples.
Yeah.
So there's some big discrepancies in some of these.
There seems to be a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll come back on May 12th with a recommendation.
Any more questions for Mike on this? Okay, opening the bids for the courthouse rear sidewalk.
Yeah, so this is we'd like to replace the rear sidewalk of the building, raise it up like we did at the jail a few years ago. This also includes the sidewalk that goes to the back door of the courthouse There's several areas in there that are cracked, so it's the whole back sidewalk, plus the sidewalk going to the back door. So the first bid is, from AJ Remus and Sons from Bay City. His bid is $36,350. Next one is unknown at this time. From Dale Rick, masonry here in Carroll. His price is $28,000 even. Agnew Construction from Saginaw is the next bid. His price is $24,310.50. Next bid is from Powell. They are Montrose. Their bid is $56,490. Next bid is not labeled. This one is from Bossman Construction from Flushing. His price is $25,900. Next bid is from KMI Road Maintenance from North Branch. He has a total price of $37,500. And then he has an alternate to the bid for, looks like 30 lineal feet of curb and gutter and catch basin adjustment if needed for additional $4,500. And then the last one I have is not labeled. This one's from Zuma Contracting from Carroll. And their bid is $42,882. And again, this is one that I would like to come back to you on May meeting and give you a recommendation.
Questions comes from the board?
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. We'll jump back up to number 5. Are we ready, Erica?
Madam Clerk, we don't have to do anything with those to move them to May 12th.
No, we're all set with
Okay,
that. Thank you
thank
for
you.
checking.
All right.
Okay, just throw it on.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think this is what you're looking for, your
Thank
balance sheet. Thank you.
I was not able to determine definitely what line item number we could create. I have it narrowed to a field, but I need to cross-reference it to make sure it's not one that we are currently using. If you'd like to add another line item for the 2,700. But I did print you out a balance sheet as of today. Now that is unvetted. I did not determine if there's anything pending. This was just really rapid. What is currently in the system, including anything that's already been a budget amendment approved or paid and approved thoroughly out of BSNA. So if there's anything approved and pending, it is not reflected.
As now we have a fund balance in there of 23,101.64, is that right?
Yes.
And that's with that 12,000 taken out of there?
Correct. That 12,000 is already in the line item, a budgeted line item at the bottom. 208-000-970-100 does have the 12,000
Yeah, I see.
budgeted amount.
Chairman, just so I understand this, it looks like expenditures budgeted are 35,985. I'm searching for the revenue and the looks like total assets might have been 32,807. I'm not quite sure how this works, since I just received this as well as everyone else.
Right.
Seems like we're a little short. Any explanations?
Michael? They're asking, Commissioner Bardwell is asking, why the budgeted, expenses exceed revenues. And I would believe part of that is the 12,000 that was a budget amendment.
Yes, so we went through our budget last year. We're trying to come up with a budget. So, and we ended up the year last year, and they're still finalizing some of the numbers at about 29,000 in the fund balance. So we asked for additional, over the regular expenses, we asked for additional $12,000 this year to do Vanderbilt Park improvements. So we're still looking at that. We have not taken anything out of that yet. There's additional 12,000 in this budget for this year to do improvements for that. So, I mean, there's also things that are already budgeted in there for the contracted services. You have the electrical costs. You have costs for the Parks and Recreation members, and all that stuff is in there. So just looking at it, we had at the beginning of, we had $23,000. So that was about where we were at the beginning of 2024, I think. And then we budgeted for this year, we're budgeting about $22,000 in revenue for the for all the money coming in. We budgeted to spend $35,000, and that was because of the additional $12,000 we asked, because we had a significant fund balance to be able to do that. So, and I wanted to make sure that we are, because there's questions about the park and needing repairs. So that's why we put that in there.
Well, we got the fund balance in there now, 23,101.64. Richard, I don't think it includes, of course, the revenue that's going to come in this year. That will be on top of that.
Which would be about
20, we figured what, 20, 23?
Yeah, we figured 22,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost $30,000, I think, last year, because they had a lot of parking fees, so.
Right. And 12,000 was already been taken out of that fund balance. That's what makes that 35,000 so high. If that wasn't in there, it'd be about $22,000 in expenses.
At this point, we already have almost $10,000 listed in revenue because we had the $4,300 for parking fees for the during ice fishing, and we already, for the camper that's already there. Now, we've already received $53,000 for camping fees, so you're gonna get a lot more in the actual summer, so.
What were the camping fees last year?
I think it was almost $30,000 last year.
What will it be this year with your new arrangement with the park host? Will it be any less?
That I don't think they'll have.
Looking at the numbers, since we've already received $5,000 at this time before the actual camping, I was expected to be over $20,000.
So Chairman, back to the original question, the line item has not been determined. And the only line item we have is the one that ends with 970,100. Correct? Clerk Fenning, is that what you recited earlier? Vanderbilt Park renovations, is that?
The Vanderbilt Park renovations right at the very end. Or bottom.
12,000?
Yeah.
If you would like me to create a new line item, if you just say to create a new line item in the amount of $2,700, I'm happy to do that. I don't have the exact number. I know what's allowable for the state, but I need to cross-check it with what we use in BSNA. So we remain consistent among other accounts.
Clerk Fenning, can you create a motion with that unknown?
We could. I will need a brief moment, but we can.
Moment.
That was brief.
You said brief.
That or do you need a copy? I can print it
Yeah,
out.
just get it.
So Chairman, the funds would come out of the renovations of the 12,000. Am I getting that right?
No, the 12,000 has been set aside for other projects that they had going,
Okay.
already out of their fund balance. And I think what we're doing is creating another line item, because we was gonna put it into that same line item, add $2,700 to that. But Madam Clerk thinks that we ought to take it out of the Vanderbilt Park and make another line item just for that.
Okay.
I think that's what she's doing now.
Also, do we want to say contingent upon approval of the grant? So the budget amendment would only occur if the grant from POET is approved. Therefore, we're only spending the 2,700 if we also get the matching 4,000.
And we probably should.
I think so.
Sorry, for Penny, to make it more complicated.
I think she heard you.
She nodded. I apologize for that last minute change.
You could do our picture. Want to do a picture with the motorcycle? What? We're just sitting here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do that.
Good time.
Come on, Chairman. I mean, they don't need to sit here.
Right?
I'm sitting in committee meetings at Lansing, so hey,
This is on Lansing, that's why I want you.
well, this is how we're
Your legs done, right?
And then you're,
Nobody needs to see me. Oh, come on.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
See you again. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Yes, see you later. Thank you. Thank you, yes, sir. Okay, I see you. Hey, maybe we'll see you coming up here, at some of the events that there are.
Hope so.
Sounds good.
Hey, that park's got funny. I see that. Told you. Yeah, I was trying to remember what they called that. Menorah? That's what I thought. What's your dog called?
A dapper.
A dapper.
That's a good thing.
Hey, I'm good. Thank you very much.
So as a draft, what the motion would read is move to approve Michael Kleinsmith, Parks and Recreation Commission Chair, to apply for a grant from Poet for a sign at the parcels between the two former prisons. Estimated cost, Pioneer signage, $3,750, digital design, $650, and concrete, $2,300, for a total cost of $6,700. The grant amount requested is $4,000, which leaves $2,700 in unmet costs to Tuscola County Parks and Recreation. A separate expenditure line item to be created for parcel renovations in the amount of $2,700, which will come from the fund balance in Fund 208 County Parks and Recreation upon the grant being awarded from Poet. Also authorize all necessary signatures for the grant application.
Should I use that as a motion?
That's what I've drafted, and I don't know if you want to see, have any other changes or
I have a
additions
question.
to it.
Was there something in there about if they don't get the grant?
We have that the line item would be created upon the grant being awarded from Poet.
Okay. I'll support that.
Are you-
I'll make the motion.
You
gotta read it.
Need to read it.
Yeah, I'll read it again.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I do have one other thing. What if Poet gives less than 4,000? So, it's their grant. So if they decide to split it and give 2,000 to one entity and 2,000 to another entity, then Michael would need to come back to the board to request the difference.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yes, I would say that would be a separate matter at that point.
So we don't need to include that, but we just need the understanding with Michael.
Yep.
That if the grant is approved for a different amount, he would need to come back to the board before moving forward.
Because he would not have enough money in the budget, so he would have to come back for a budget request.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to
No.
throw that up.
No.
So the motion as drafted is move to approve Michael Kleinsmith, Parks and Recreation Commission Chair, to apply for a grant from Poet for a sign at the parcels between the two former prison properties. Estimated cost, Pioneer signage, $3,750, digital design, $650, and concrete, $2,300, for a total cost of $6,700. The grant amount requested is $4,000, which leaves $2,700 in unmet cost to Tuscola County Parks and Recreation. A separate expenditure line item to be created for parcel renovations in the amount of $2,700, which will come from the fund balance in Fund 208 County Parks and Recreation upon the grant being awarded from Poet. Also authorize all necessary signatures for the grant application.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Barlow, supported by Commissioner Luke.
It's been moved and supported to approve Michael Kleinsmith, Parks and Recreation Commission Chair, to apply for a grant from Poet for a sign at the parcels between the two former prison properties. Estimated cost, Pioneer signage, $3,750, digital design, $650, and concrete, $2,300, for a total cost of $6,700. The grant amount requested is $4,000, which leaves $2,700 in unmet cost for the Tuscola County Parks and Recreation. a separate expenditure line item to be created for parcel renovations in the amount of $2,700, which will come from the fund balance in Fund 208 County Parks and Recreation upon the grant being awarded from POET. Also authorize all necessary signatures for the grant application.
That's the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion was passed.
Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for, new business. Move on to old business. The Mevo contract, this is something that's already been passed by the board, but we did have a contract this time. So FYI, you just put it in here where everybody can read the contract. Any questions on that contract? The people who looked over has read it. Was there any questions on it? It was just basically FYI because the board requested just to see the contract that they were. No questions on that? No.
And how did our motion read the last time? Okay, just that we would continue to review it after the initial 2-year period. I just want to make sure we didn't have anything in there that we needed a final
We just kind of
approval
requested,
today
you
that
know,
we would miss.
Mr. Barber
Yeah.
requested, let's see the
Yep.
contract, and so.
Nope.
that's for that.
I just want to make
FYI.
sure we didn't leave any.
Right,
open.
okay,
Thank you.
yep. Number 2, under old business is cameras for the building across the street, and now that Erica presented what she needs to.
This is just some clarification. I have the previous motion, previous minutes, excuse me, where the board approved it, but they did not give direction. You did not give direction as to where the funds were coming from. So I would like to be clear now that the invoices are coming due onto which line item we're taking that money from.
What motion are you referring to, Erica?
2024-M-271.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a
Thank you.
copy for you too.
Great, thank you.
And then I also have the balance sheet for the 483 fund. There is a fund balance in there that I believe would be suitable for this use. But of course, that is after the combination of the board. I did briefly speak with the former controller administrator, because in the committee of the whole minutes, it states that she said that there was enough funds in the contingency fund. And so I reached out to her to say, could you be more specific, please? So she said that she believed that that would be coming from the contingency fund. However, at the end of the year, that contingency fund was used to shore up the budget in 2024 before audit. So the funds were used in other places before the invoices came due for these camera systems. So that money has been exhausted. So she recommended fund balance, which of course, again, is up to the board.
Chairman,
Yes.
this wasn't in the original bid.
No,
Why?
I can answer that for you.
Okay.
You said you can't answer that.
I don't have an answer.
Oh,
Wasn't there, Chairman, wasn't there money in the government service fund?
well, yeah, everybody knows where it's at, but it's probably money there. You know, that's one of our problems, you know, because, let's take that money and just put it other places, so,
I have another question.
go ahead.
Director Miller, do you know how much is left in that account now that the building is somewhat done?
My discussion with Erica, I believe that balance is about 0.
Okay.
That's correct. So, so Neil,
There's two different former controller administrators. So Neil did book the liability for the retainage of what we withhold for Bloom's Construction. And so that you'll see on the contracts payable line item, that 162,998. And then, of course, we also have the accounts payable. So this is that 162,000 plus the 100,000 original budgeted was what we owe Bloom's Construction. So now that we're paying the camera system out of that line item, it is going to make it over budget. So I just need direction as to where you would like me to pay this out of, or if you'd like a budget amendment to take fund balance to increase that line item.
And your recommendation is the capital improvements fund would be the
Yes.
place to take it?
Yes. As it is, you know, the capital improvement fund, in addition, we would use the PSB building line item because it is indeed for that building. Now, if you prefer it to be separated, we can definitely do that, but it is indeed for that building.
Chairman, just, Lord, just to refresh my memory, the original project was what, 2 million, that's the top line item, 2,000,002. That's what we set aside originally.
Yep, I believe you're right.
Okay, I think it was around there. And we've exhausted that, but we still have a liability of 255,000 outstanding yet between, where are we? The 162 and the 92, that's still outstanding?
I believe that's in that 2.2. I think that's still budgeted.
Still budgeted?
That's
Okay.
correct.
If we take the 64,000 now, that will put us over budget.
So the 64,000 that we approved earlier would have to come out of.
Something else.
So as I recall from the budget, and these are old numbers, we have between 1.2 and 1.5 million of GSP funds.
I'm thinking it was more 2 million, yeah. Yeah,
And that was 2 million?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd sit in my
it was
briefcase.
2 million, yeah.
But I don't recall anything after that and how that was. Well, the point being, have they been ordered? Have you received them or?
Yeah, they've already installed.
That's what I'm saying. All right, well, that sort of solves that.
Like I said,
Where
the
am I gonna
board-
pay it from? That's-
Right, the board approved it previously, but the motion was unclear where the funds were coming from. So I just need clarification
Well, it's coming out of cash reserve.
from the 483 fund? From the fund balance of the 483 fund or somewhere else?
And the 483 fund is what?
The capital improvement,
And the capital improvement has what in it?
unreserved, looks like
3.7.
3.7.
And how much have we appropriated? Director Miller, of the capital's probably not a lot.
How much do we appropriate?
Out of the 3.7, if that's our overall capital fund,
Right.
3.719 is what it's showing. Beginning balance, what have we appropriated on capital projects? Do you have it in your mind?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was 150 or 200,000.
Which was far below the 3.7.
Right.
Also, I would like to say that there probably will be another secondary budget amendment needed once the change orders are thoroughly reviewed by Mr. Miller. There may be some additional change orders, so a secondary budget amendment needed. But I would prefer them to be clean and have this one just for the cameras, so we can pay that accordingly. And when the next round is needed, we will bring that back to the board.
So the board agreed to stay out of the capital improvement fund?
Yeah.
Fund balance.
Yeah.
There are also doors too, not just cameras. Those are expensive cameras.
Yeah, the door access control.
Shelley, are you working on a motion or shall I? And then it would the proper line item that you're referring to be the 483-000-390.000.
That's correct.
Tell me which meeting and I will get it. What is this? Sorry.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That hurt his feelings. Yeah, that was a good idea, Cook. I know.
I sit down.
I think we probably could use this.
Yes. For final review. Okay. I will start and then the star goes in. Yes. This is the budget amendment from, but this is the to be paid. This is the line item paid up, which is the PSV. That's the expense.
So you're taking money from the 480 to put it in here and then paying it from there.
Yes,
I don't know that that's written clearly.
because you can't pay out of. That's not.
I just don't know that it's written clearly too bad. What am I in? That was. Maybe.
Everybody can recess. Yeah. Then the recess. Yeah. Great. We're gonna go into recess for 10 minutes. We'll figure all this out. We'll be back. Thank you. Welcome back. Just take a little short recess and now we come back and, run the cameras for the people stay bank building.
We have drafted a motion, commissioners, and I'll read it if that is acceptable, and then you can add to it if you would like.
Okay.
Move to approve that per the request of Chief Information Officer Ian Lee, that the previously approved $64,622.18 that was approved to be paid to Advanced Satellite Communications under motion 2024-M-271 be paid from line item 483-901-975-002. Also authorize a budget amendment from line item 480-000-390-000 Capital Improvement Fund to 483-901-975-002 PSB Building Remodel to complete the funding for payment of the invoice. Four eight three, my apologies, 483-000-390-000 for the capital improvement fund. So we have in here stated the amount of the invoice, who we're supposed to pay, what line item we're going to pay from, as well as how we're going to fund that by moving money from capital improvement into that building remodel line item.
This request is being made by the chief accountant, not by me.
I can change that? Yes.
I don't care.
That's how it was started, so we will correct that to be per the request of Chief Accountant Erica Dibble. You're welcome. Is there anything else that you would like to see in there, board? I'll read the motion one more time.
Yeah, go ahead.
To move to approve that per the request of Chief Accountant Erica Dibble, that the previously approved $64,622.18 that was approved to be paid to Advanced Satellite Communications under motion 2024-M-271 be paid from line item 483-901-975-002. Also authorize a budget amendment from 483-000-390-000, which is Capital Improvement Fund, to line item 483-901-975-002 PSB Building Remodel to complete the funding for payment of the invoice.
The motion,
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
the move by Commissioner, supported by Commissioner Luce. Could you read it one more time, Madam Clerk?
Be glad to, thank you. It's been moved and supported to approve that further request of Chief Accountant Erica Dibble, that the previously approved $64,622.18 that was approved to be paid to Advanced Satellite Communications under motion 2024-M-271 be paid from line item 483-901-975-002. Also authorize a budget amendment from line item 483-000-390-000 Capital Improvement Fund to line item 483-901-975-002 PSB Building Remodel to complete the funding for payment of the invoice.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion has been approved. Phew, got through that. Okay, that's it on the road business. Correspondence and resolution, we just have Wells Township notice of public hearing to amend their master plan. I don't think there's any more on that. With that being said, we can move into the commissioner liaison reports. Let's start out with Commissioner Cook.
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Commissioner Goodchild,
Nothing.
Mr. Marvel,
Well, in the report was Commissioner Goodchild and myself attended the meeting last Monday with Representative Alexander in Cass City. It was office hours. It was well represented related to the Amish situation on M53, and Representative Alexander addressed that with the help of his staff. And with that said, we're still pursuing a remedy to reduce the amount of traffic with M53 with bugs. No further report.
you can say how did I was cooperate with him, or they?
Well, he did. I was sort of shying away from that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Well, we had been attempting to put a meeting together. Last Wednesday was supposed to be one of the dates. Next Wednesday is supposed to be another date. But in his discussion, he alluded to the fact it's very difficult to get the right people at the DNR in the room. And so they're waiting to do that. Obviously, there's not a real interest on their behalf, but we'll let it. His office pursue it.
Did you ever think about addressing the Congress? That's just publicly, like some people do. I mean, because this is
That's actually
health. This is not much interest. Well, lives should be some interest.
It's actually been discussed that if this doesn't come together, that is one of probably the three next steps.
Yeah.
Is to go legislative here.
I think you get their attention when you're addressing the full board and they're talking about these issues. I think, you maybe get their attention a little bit more.
I mean, I think what the path is that you want to try the option first.
Right.
You get nowhere, then you go legislatively. The other option is to, there's communities down in Centerville and Hastings, smaller communities than the Cass City area. And that's a large span of community over there now that have put an 8-foot approach on each side of the road. So one of the options that could be pursued is putting an approach for 4 miles from Cass City Road to Severance, and also going north, because that's a heavily traveled, so that it would get the cart and buggy traffic off to the side at 8 feet. That would at least get them out of harm's way, because it's very difficult. If you'd like to experience it, I can arrange it, to have a ride down M53 on the shoulder. And certainly from that respect, the other problem they're having is at the moment, the gravel roads off M53 are in such bad shape. I see they're grading them the other day that they suggested we take you ride down those roads too, which puts them on M53. They tried to avoid the side roads because it's very hard on the horse, unless it's fairly even, and it's very hard on the buggies. So
It's sad it's got to go that far, and then you're going to put an approach on the side of the road. I mean, you got construction workers out here getting hit. So I don't see that fixing it. They need to get that bridge done.
So the bridge, I mean, obviously that would be one of the solutions. The bridge is not going to take all the buggies off M53. I mean, there's another issue with M53. And for 4 miles at least, and that's basically the community both ways, north and south. The real issue here, and we've already had 2 instances, if you're not aware, 3 people killed down Michigan, Indiana border, children, and a fellow got hit up here. And we can go back and pull up a year ago, I think it was a year ago or 2, we had deaths. It's just a matter of time. And if you've ever, I encourage you, if you'd like a buggy ride on M53, you think that approach would be a top priority for you, because at 65, 70 miles an hour, there is no leeway. And you have to have again, you can get into a lot of details in terms of the community and what type of horse you have. You got aged horse or young horse will get a little spooked, but Needs to be a solution out there. It needs to be a dual solution. No, we need both the approach and the crossing. So it's getting more attention. It's about almost 2 years now, maybe a year and 3/4 when we first started, probably 2 years. Tom Young and I started working on this. So, but you're right, legislatively, it'd be very interesting. But other communities have done it. So there's encouragement. So no further, unless there's other questions, no further.
Okay. Not too much. Did Ashley, did EDC get a hold of you? Did they get a hold of you? They never did? After I talked, we talked the other day. Can I call? We said call you just immediately. Nothing. Okay. Other than that, I really don't have nothing to report. Commissioner Cook. I was the first one. Oh. I knew you was quick. I didn't like it to go.
Community Corrections meets today down in Lapeer. Medical care facility, yesterday we had the ribbon cutting, the reopening of the houses out and back there. The houses are very nice. They're very beautiful inside. So they're gonna start reusing those homes back there. And that's all I have for you.
Okay. Any other businesses necessary? Anybody on the board have any other business necessary coming from the board? Moving to extended public comment. Do we have any extended public comment that wants to be?
All right, good night. Thank you. Thank the commissioners for your vote today. I appreciate the work of members on our Parks and Recreation Commission trying to address some of the issues that maybe were addressed very properly in the past, but we're looking to make progress and look at recreation in the whole county. So if you have any other questions, regarding what's going on, let us know. So we're just trying to work on make progress and make recreation just take care of recreation in the county for you. So thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Okay, any other extended public comment?
Ashley Bennett, County Treasurer. I come before you because I have recently discovered some significant issues that are very concerning. And I'm looking for the direction of which way you want me to take this. I would normally take it to our controller, but we do not have one. So that leads me to the Finance Committee or in front of the full board. One of two needs to happen, and it needs to happen ASAP. So I don't know if you want me to divulge what the issues are right now, or.
Well, I think, for brings to the full board, or whatever, probably should go to the administrator first.
That's not the controller.
No.
The administrator is personnel. Controller is finances. This is finances of the county.
Then the chief accountant. That's who we have in place right now to do finance of the county. We probably have to go to her.
Okay.
You
Then
know.
I will, I do think the board needs to be made aware of it. So we can invite the chief accountant, but I think the finance committee needs to get together in this meeting as well. If information that the commissioners will want it to know.
Joe, is this situation an immediate need in your mind?
I'm currently holding on to $179,000 worth of checks that were duplicated and paid twice. They were supposed to go out and I pulled them and held them because they've already been paid and cleared our bank. So if you would like me to continue to hang on to them until you can get together with a finance committee meeting or how urgent you want to make this, I'm not real sure.
Chairman, another question. Were there any checks that were issued that were cashed twice?
Yes,
Or there is.
there are.
What would that amount be?
I think it's like under 15,000.
Is there are you sensing a internal control issue or
Yeah.
what is going on?
There's an issue.
So the original checks that were issued, what happened to them?
Checks were issued and am I just divulging all this right now? I guess. I can go down the story if you would like.
Yeah, I think it's something that probably needs to be discussed with.
I don't know that I can
First.
do it all in 2 minutes though, just so, yeah. There were checks that were issued that were not received by the payees in March. Conversations came about that these checks were lost. My office was able to verify the checks were received from the front office, that we processed the checks as we normally do, that we dropped them in the mailbox and we could see the mailman picking them up. But that's as far as we could track those. Then we had gone to the post office to ask them about the mail. Like, is it in somebody's van somewhere? Where is this? It's missing. None of the people that we paid on that check run had received their checks. They told us to give us an extra week because there was an issue at, I think it's either Illinois or Indiana, where all of our mail gets sent to the processing center. So we waited another week. Meanwhile, the drain office had requested that we stopped payment on 3 checks to 3 people that were being paid. And then Shannon also stopped payment on a Verizon wireless bill for the county treasurer's office. At which time the request was handed to the front office for processing those 4 checks again that were stopped payment. The other remaining checks were not stopped payment and there was no request issued for a reissue of a check. Then Thursday before Good Friday, I was told I received a bunch of checks that were not legible, that you couldn't even send them out. And after asking the front office to reprint the checks, they finally agreed to reprint them. And I was told that Debbie also reprinted the March 19th checks. When I questioned, why would she do that? We never stopped payment on those. I was told that she contacted the bank and stopped payment on those checks. I then said she does not have the authority to do that. Our accounts payable, the one issuing a check, should not be the one also canceling that check, stopping payment, and reissuing another. So I went about my day. On Friday, I get a phone call from the drain commissioner telling me that the check from the March 15th batch was in fact received and that her person that she was paying, it was Dutch Excavating, they were at the bank trying to cash that check that we had stopped payment on. So we knew that those checks were now found. Meanwhile, this would have been Monday, I think it was, coming back from Easter, there's another batch of checks that are ran. And there were 3 different piles, all pieced together differently. In there were checks for that March 19th check run that was reran, that were not stopped payment on. When I run records in the bank, I can show that those checks have cleared, that are voided in our system. So now I will not be able to balance bank recs for the month of April because we have voided checks in our system that have cleared the bank. And we've reissued checks that I have sitting on my desk, that I'm being directed by policy of the county that I'm supposed to send those out. If I do, it's going to cost the county an additional $179,000 for bills that have already been paid.
Just at a highest level protocol, Chairman, who signs these checks?
Checks are printed with Jody's signature and my signature already on it.
Whoever authorizes the checks has the sole responsibility to assure that they're appropriate and being dispersed appropriately. I mean, that's the last.
I had
that's the highest
no,
level.
I was not told. Were you told that any checks were stop payment on?
I have not been made aware that any checks were stopped payment.
Other than when I was in a conversation with Shelley that she told me that Debbie stopped payment on them with the bank. I also talked to Debbie about that. She told me she stopped payment at the bank. When I talked to the bank, they said there is absolutely no stop payment on there because I questioned, why are you stopping payment when Debbie is calling you? She should have no authority at the bank.
Who has that authority?
Myself and Shannon.
Okay.
We are the signers on the account. Debbie is not a signer on the account and should not be contacting the bank at all.
I think what the board needs is to understand more fully, not only the internal controls, but in terms of the role and responsibility, but we know what the role of responsibility, the breadth and depth of responsibility of the treasurer versus, say, a controller administrator. We don't have that controller. In my mind, I'll just throw out what I'm thinking as I'm thinking about it. You are the ultimate individual as elected treasurer of the county for the fiduciary responsibility. I'm not quite sure under the Controller Administrator Act what that encompasses. If that's subrogated to you, to the treasurer, which I would think it would be. Otherwise, there's going to be, that's an issue. So here we are, issued duplicate checks. We have an issue with stop payment, which never occurred. You're holding on to checks that by county's protocol or.
Well, basically, based on the policy, I'm supposed to send those out.
But they've
But I
already-
knowingly
You
couldn't.
hold on, because they've already been sent out once, right?
Yeah, they were sent out back in March
Right, so,
and they've already cleared the bank.
So you wouldn't send them out.
so you would send them out again.
Well, and I
But
believe-
my direction, according to the policy, is Debbie processes the check. I believe Angie reviews those checks, and then they come to the treasurer's office. We fold them, put them in an envelope
Right.
and mail them.
Right.
So I don't have a way of knowing that they're reissuing multiple checks. There's no way for me to verify that. That's not my department.
Right.
I'm just mailing the check out simply. But because of discussions that happened, I know these are duplicate. There could be multiple more. I don't know that. All I know is because Shelley did tell me that, my brain got working and I went, oh no, and I was able to grab some checks. My concern is that there could be more. I don't know. I
So-
won't know till I go to do bank recs and see more issues. But I know that I will not be able to balance. There's no way I can balance.
Are you getting calls for non-payment?
I actually just received a text message this morning from our security company for an invoice that I had turned in quite a while ago that still hasn't been paid, and they're wanting to know why it hasn't paid yet. I believe Steve Anderson got the phone call as well. I got a text message.
That was part of the checks that was given
No,
to the mail person.
it's been turned in since April,
Oh, wasn't part of
April 7th.
wasn't part of the checks that come up with. The-
No.
well,
Because his is for the security, it's an ACH transfer. It's not a check.
I received an email yesterday from a company called Jail Tracker. And who hadn't been paid, and they get paid once a year. I read the contract. I had no idea why I was getting it, but at any rate, is that one of the familiar ones?
I'm not familiar with Jail Tracker. No, that wasn't in the March 19th batch, if that's what you're asking.
What caught my interest was the fact that the CIO was involved in this. Had hand delivered the invoice, but it was missing and was being requested to reconstitute another invoice. It just sort of falls part and parcel to what you're saying. Well, how deep and broad is this?
I've had multiple conversations of people contacting me wanting to know where payments are. And I don't have an answer because the checks have gone out when I receive them, except for the ones I grabbed and snagged. I can only provide the information when people ask about payments on items if we have a check register to follow through with it.
In delineation of responsibilities, just quick description of the board, where you're the treasurer and we have the administration. Where does this fall? Where's it going to go back to? Where's the remedy need to come from?
Well, it went through.
Let me answer
Renee
that question
Mayo
because
check,
that's an
right?
important question. There needs to be a
Yeah.
remedy. We have no idea whether breadth or depth.
I'm nervous to send out another check until this issue gets taken care of and something changes. Because my name is on it and Jody's name is on it. And do we become liable for somebody else's actions? I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. And if I wouldn't have caught this, it could have been a huge issue. And I would hope you guys are concerned. Some of you aren't maybe even paying attention, but it is a big deal.
Thank you, Chip.
Okay. So Ashley, and I'll invite anybody else who wants to speak to, Shelley or Debbie. How do we remedy it now? Okay, having the past, we need to address that. That's a big deal. Can we wait on all the checks that are requested to make sure they're all clear before we, I know you're sending them other checks that you're supposed to send up, but you can't send them out because you don't know what's been paid.
I only pulled the checks that I for sure knew about in that March 19th check run. There are 2 that were requested that were overnighted and certified mailed to consumers in DTE that Debbie initialed. She took and did that. Those I cannot control. Those both cleared the bank 2 times. The one she thinks she voided.
Did not clear the bank 2 times.
Okay, I have bank records that show it does.
I get what you're saying, and there was an issue with there were a ton of checks that were issued on March 19th. Who knows what happened to them? When I called DTE and Consumers Energy, they did not get the checks and we were getting threatened shut off. So I overnighted the checks to make sure that we did not get shut off. I'm sure that you appreciate that. As far as the other checks that I did not get a list of checks that they said that they already received payment, so they received duplicate payment. I did not receive a list of that. If you have a list, that'd be great if I had it. I did submit checks. I called DTE. I called Consumers Power to make sure that, because we received the shut off notices and we did send payments and they said they never received it. So that's why I redid the checks.
I think this is.
And that goes along
something.
with there was a big $94,000 check for drain office. They said they never received it. They asked me to reissue it. So I reissued the check and I called the bank to make sure to not cash that check if they were going to receive it, because that was huge.
So I
You
don't
want to
have a
do all this right
report
here?
to just run that checks were cashed. What I can do is verify that the bank, these cleared the bank. That is after the fact. I can't catch it beforehand.
Right.
The reason why I was able to catch something was that I was told by Shelley and you again on Monday when I asked you, did you really call the bank and stop payment? You said, yes, I'll never do that again. Correct?
Yes, because you told me that.
You don't have authority.
And I did not know that at the time.
But the bank did not stop the payment, right?
No,
Just,
because she doesn't have authority and there is no
And they did
record
not
of
tell me
it.
that. I talked to 3 different ladies there. And they all said that they were going to make sure that these checks were cashed because I told them that I was reissuing checks.
These all cashed here. These ones I haven't verified yet because I verify them daily as they're happening. Since I found this, not like I've been doing
Chairman, we
it
got a
since.
problem here in
it came
internal
in.
controls, and I suggest Mr. Cook, Commissioner Cook, what's your suggestion in terms of Finance Committee? We are held responsible for oversight with the board.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Is there a way we could meet after the meeting?
We have not posted it at this point, so it does need an 18-hour
So it needs to
posting.
be a
So
public-
meeting today unfortunately would violate OMA because this meeting has not been posted. Ashley did send an email out last night requesting it. I sent a
I'm
couple of
requesting a
things.
different meeting. That was
Yeah,
for,
I-
that's not for
I don't
this.
know, I was thinking.
That's for-
I need to talk to you about
I
something
mean,
else.
if you're gonna have a meeting on it, you can have that meeting right here, if that's what you want to go with, but I
We
don't think,
can.
I don't think it needs to be here. I think it needs to be done with at least one of the finance committees needs to sit down, and hash out things before it gets to this point. Because we can talk all day long here about it, but we're not gonna get nowhere.
We can set something
know,
for tomorrow afternoon. if you
I
like.
would like to know from the discretion of the board or maybe make you aware, I will not send out a check until this is resolved. And I believe I have that authority. I can go verify that I do. My name is
We're
on
not
that
question- we're
check
not
and
questioning
I'm,
your authority.
I'm not comfortable sending
Yeah,
out
I'm not
checks at this
questioning,
point.
I don't think anybody's questioning what authority. We just want to get to the bottom of it.
Me too.
For everybody back on the same page. Now, if the finance committee wants to be with Ashley and Joey wants to take notes on it, that's one thing, but, it needs to be.
Well, I would like to be there. My name is on the check as well. And
Yeah,
I do
and that's
believe,
fine.
and I
That's
do
fine.
believe that it should be something that's in an open meeting,
You know.
if we're meeting with the finance committee.
Oh, I agree with you. But if,
Wait,
but if you want to resolve this faster than 18 hours, I would suggest either one of the finance committee meets with them or you as board chair. That's just my thought. Do you agree, Commissioner Barlow?
Well, it's certainly an option, Commissioner Cook. I'm just not understanding the breadth and depth. I'm hearing the scope.
Right.
Of all the years I've been a commissioner, this has never come up internally. I know we have a very new group, probably inexperienced in many ways. But we're talking about the residents of Tuscola County's money. And they need the assurances that this is taken care of promptly and the internal controls have to be there, must be followed. Because this is a public meeting, as we said here. And this is not something that can go unmissed. Now, unfortunately, Commissioner Goodchild and I have a 3:00 tour tomorrow afternoon with Representative Alexander. And then personally, next week, Tuesday, I'm on my way to Iowa. Yeah.
Do either of you have availability tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
It'd have to be in the morning because we're gonna be touring at 3 or before 3.
Well, as long as it's after 5 a.m., we will adhere to 18 hours if we're done with this, and I can post it by 11.
So the earliest we can have meetings 5 a.m.
As long as it's after 5 a.m.
If
If
I get posted by 11 today.
I don't think I'll make a 5 a.m. meeting.
Ashley's got my report,
Just checking.
but, I will.
That's what I'm thinking, Commissioner Cook. Sorry, Chairman, I just
No, you.
asked you a question. I'm just trying to
Just, I
circle
guess,
around.
after the meeting, you guys just work out if you can get together. We gotta do this here the next day or so. This has gotta be resolved. We gotta have a protocol. We gotta get back on the same page.
Chairman, just so we understand, when they cash the double check, they've been paid twice. How do we retrieve the funds, or do we not, or what, how does that work out?
And probably can talk about all that in the, there's a lot of stuff to discuss there.
I would think you would invoice them back for the money you overpaid and hope they pay you back.
Never, ever happened before? Ever had to?
I've never had this
Invoice?
happen
Okay,
before.
just- I'm trying to understand.
I mean, I've sent an invoice to somebody before, but not for cashing 2 checks.
So, Tom, get after me, maybe you guys just work out a time or whatever, but
Commissioner Fargo, can you make 11 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Mhm.
11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Thank
I'll
you.
post it. Thank you.
okay. Any more public comment? Anybody else want to address the board out there? Public comment, time to do that is right now. Hearing none, seeing none. That's record showing the public comment was offered, and we had, Michael Feinsmith, and we had, Treasurer Ashley Bennett. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
So moved by Commissioner Lee, supported by Commissioner Trick to adjourn the committee meeting this morning. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. With that, I'm gonna call the meeting to order on the statutory finance part of the meeting. And, we'll have a roll call by Madam Clerk Freddie.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Goodchild,
Here.
Commissioner Barba,
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Here.
Commissioner Lutz,
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you. Action on previous meeting minutes.
Make a motion on action, previous meeting minutes, statutory finance, 10th of April, 2025.
Or
The move by Commissioner Lutz, support by Commissioner Cook to approve the statutory finance for April 10th, 2025 meeting minutes. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
New business, review and approval of finance document checks.
Chair, I make a motion to review and approval of finance report and checks for 24-25 finance docket.
Support. Oh, yeah, he nipped you out there. It's been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Goodchild to approve the financial report and checks for 24-25 finance docket. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So approved. Review and approval of the data report checks.
Chair, I make a motion to review and approve the daily report and checks for 10-25 daily docket.
Support. It's been moved by Commissioner Cook, supported by Commissioner Goodchild to approve the daily report and checks of the 4/10/25 daily docket. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion has been approved. Review and approval of the per diem report checks.
Chair, I make the motion to review and approval of the per diem report and checks of April 2025.
Support. The move by Commissioner Cook, support by Commissioner Goodchild to approve the per diem report and checks April 25. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chairman, before you move on,
Yes.
if I may ask,
Yeah.
when we received the email, maybe, I'm looking at you, yeah. The links don't open. So,
The links to, from this meeting's agenda?
yes,
The finance,
yes.
I know they didn't last for me
So-
last meeting either.
I couldn't review it, and of course I went on our website. Let me go back to the website.
Okay, this is, I need to work with whoever is publishing the agenda, needs to make this a publicly viewable link. It's just the process we gotta
Okay,
figure out.
it would be helpful because I sort of wanted to review it before, but
Can I ask? I emailed all of you, the
We're
agenda.
not
Were you
already in
able?
Public comment
No.
yet?
Not yet.
Or is it on this topic? Just
It's on
clarifying.
this topic.
Okay,
Yeah.
just clarifying.
Yep. Were you able to open that document the document that I emailed to you for with the agenda?
well, we're looking at this document that was emailed to us.
Yeah,
No, that's what we're talking.
that's the one you can't open. Okay, that's what I wanted.
Okay.
to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Okay.
Thank you.
You good? Old business? Don't say anything. Any public comment on statutory finance part of the meeting? Let the record show that public comment was offered for the statutory finance. And seeing or hearing none, let's move on to, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Support. The move by Commissioner, support by Commissioner Boyle to adjourn the statutory finance part of the meeting. Thank everybody for joining us this morning. And we are adjourned.